Welcome, love, to Wild Flow, the podcast for wild and wise women devoted to honoring your body's wisdom, reclaiming your cyclical power, and walking as a feminine leader in life, love, and through your soul work and purpose. I'm Charlotte Puanto, embodiment coach, ritual priestess, menstrual cycle educator, and feminine business mentor, here to guide soul-led women to step forward as their most magical, womb-awakened, authentic, and sovereign selves. On the podcast, we have rich and deep conversations with women I deeply admire who are leading the way in the reclamation of sacred feminine power. Ready for a new episode, my love? Let's flow. Welcome, love, back to Wild Flow with me, Charlotte Puanto. Today, we're here to talk about how the autumn equinox that is coming up this weekend in Australia, in the Southern Hemisphere, how it marks a real threshold into the dark half of the year, why women often feel that call in the body and psyche before they can name it, and how and why having a map for descent matters. I'm really feeling this in the Northern Hemisphere. They're bursting into spring. And every year I see family and friends in the UK, where I'm from, and other friends in the Northern Hemisphere, places like America and Canada and across Europe. I can see and sense their excitement for spring. It's like hope is returning. They've had a long, hard winter, a dark winter, and it can be really cold over there, less so here in Australia in our winter. And as I sense and witness their excitement and joy for spring coming and the hope and possibility of their summer ahead, I have felt every year that I've lived in Australia this sense of kind of envy, like we're slipping into autumn. We're going in the opposite direction. And whilst we've just had our summer and it's been what it's been, whether wonderful or not felt hot enough, or it's been too wet, or it's been really long and hot and joyful, there's a sense of, and in my brain, especially as somebody who deeply embodies the cycle wisdom, the cycle and seasonal map of the year, and understands the medicine and wisdom of all phases of the seasons, all phases of the year. And I know it's our turn. We've got to have our autumn. We've got to go through winter. Like, we've had our fun. It's time to, let them have their turn. I still feel this sense of, I wish I could kind of hop over and soak up some of that sun and heat. And where I live in the Southern Highlands, we do have actual winters. It's not like if you don't live in Australia, or even if you don't know where I live, you might think that Australia's just got long, hot, summery weather all year long. Like, yeah, it does in parts. But here where I live, we get really quite long winters, and we have the leaves fall off the trees. It gets dark at certainly by 5 o'clock, and we have to put the fire on. We get frosts, and it even snows. So I know that it's coming. I know that it's important, but I can still feel this sense of hesitation, and that's okay. I give myself permission to feel that at the same time as trusting that autumn must come, winter is coming, and that's a good thing. So I've spoken on the podcast before about how autumn equinox, in terms of cyclical living, is like really linked to luteal premenstrual energy. It's linked to perimenopause. And I've talked as well about how to honor the season. But this year, something else feels alive, and it's deeper. I want to talk beyond just honoring the season. I want to talk about autumn as a threshold, the moment where something in the earth, and then often in us, begins to turn toward descent. As the light shifts, the energy shifts, and earth full well begins to respond to the reducing light, the psyche shifts as well. And for many women, many of us, especially if you are a sensitive woman, if you're a space holder, if you're attuned to the earth and the seasons, if you pay attention, maybe if you live in a city, I sometimes wonder, I think back to when I used to live in the city and there was, less sky and less trees to observe. But if you feel it in your body, then you'll still know it. And you do feel it before you can explain it. So this year, I'm less interested in how to ritualize the season. And I'm really interested in sharing, reflecting on what this is asking of us in terms of descent. So the equinox, as I'm sure you're well aware, means equal night. So it's this point, this threshold where the day is as long as the night is as long as the day. It's a balance point. So it is really like a click of the fingers, a snapshot in time, but it's also the turning point. Here in the Southern Hemisphere, we cross into the dark half of the year. So the days will begin to shorten, the nights will begin to lengthen. This is the crossing over. Even though our days started shortening from winter solstice, this is the point where they'd become shorter. So obviously for those of you in the north, you're in the opposite energy. Your days are lengthening. And this might really resonate with you, this episode, in 6 months' time. And fair enough if it does, one to save and come back to. So something starts calling us inwards. And that might not always feel soft or romantic. We can reflect on, the beauty of autumn and the changing colors and the way that, maybe we get more time and space for ourselves and it feels less social. And sometimes that can feel like a relief, but sometimes that can feel like grief as well. Maybe it brings a wobble. Maybe it asks you to, like me, hold both. I can see and intellectually know that this is a good thing, but it's real that there's a part of me that's like, even though I, love to embrace autumn, I do love autumn, still like, and prefers it when it's light and bright and I don't need to wear as much clothing. My body is not shivering and I don't need to constantly think about turning the heat on. Obviously, privileged position, but that's how it feels. So sometimes there can be this resistance, even when we know that it's a beautiful, necessary time of year. Sometimes there can be tiredness, introspection, restlessness, even an irritability that just starts to creep in, melancholy, or an unnamed pull towards solitude. So, whatever your relationship is to autumn, you'll start to be feeling it coming up now. Autumn doesn't just change the weather, it changes the atmosphere inside us. Our bodies react. We know our pineal gland, the light sensor, reads the light every day, just as the leaves on trees and plants does, just as animals do. We all know what's coming. And hormonally, physiologically, we are beginning to shift to meet autumn, whether we are ready or not, in our sort of hearts. One of the strange things about a descent, just as the sun is starting to descend, as it crosses the horizon at the autumn equinox, the sun, the earth is starting its descent. And we do too. And one of the strange things about this is that you often don't know before you get there what that descent is going to contain. You might feel it and sense it. You might know that something is coming, but you might not know exactly what the ask is or what the journey is. You might not know what the timeline is and what it will bring. You might feel like there's a sense of slowing down or coming home to yourself, but you won't know as you embark on the descent what is ending what is softening, what is dying, what is asking to be released or reckoned with, or seen and witnessed. You can feel the ground changing, and there can be a less of an appetite for noise, for busyness, a lower tolerance for what is superficial, and there can be more sensitivity. It can bring more awareness of what is out of alignment, and maybe where you've been holding more than you actually are capable of, that you actually have capacity for, that you've been doing through the summer. And maybe now you're kind of feeling that, like, oh, sweet relief. I can cocoon in my home. I can stay in more. I can be more inwards and reflective. And this can either be something that you embrace or something that you're resisting. So you might not know yet the terrain of this autumn and winter and the descent that you're being guided through, but you can feel the threshold and you can learn the map. So for sacred space holders, coaches, healers, priestesses, facilitators, this can be quite an interesting time of year. It can be confronting. It can be something that we really need to be talking about, because if you are often holding holding others, if you're staying available, if you are keeping things moving, if you are witnessing others and you are noticing that there's plenty coming up with the people that you hold space for, but you're not really clocked in, tuned into the fact that your clients are probably experiencing a descent of sorts over these coming months, then there can be a temptation to override it, especially when your own descent begins. And this can be in order to stay visible or to keep creating, to be productive, or it might be because you just are committed to doing a really great job for your clients. And so it's important that we don't treat these descent cycles like an inconvenience or something to push through. It doesn't mean either that we just completely stop and shut down for 6 months, because, hello, that's not real. What it does do is ask us how we can be in integrity with ourselves, our capacity, how we can come back to alignment so that we're not just leaking energy everywhere. We're not pouring into that which isn't really going to serve us, guide us, hold us through this period. We can't give more than we have. If autumn is the harvest season where we see the fruits of everything that we've sown in the last cycle, now is the time to be reflecting on that and to be taking out the pruning secateurs and chopping off the dead branches, the extra leaves that we can no longer sustain, to drop the leaves. It's a time of looking in our businesses, like where we're giving too much, how many offers do we have that need us to be live? How many clients do we have at this time? What are we holding that is really taking of our energy, that just maybe feels like, even on the small level, just an extra stretch? It's really important that we do this because autumn brings the time of course correction. If we didn't have autumn, we could just blindly go in pursuit of our goal, thinking it's what we want, what's good for us, what we're meant to be doing, without just looking back and checking that we're still on target, in true alignment, honoring our capacity, like checking in, like dropping in and feeling, listening, asking, is this right for me? Has something changed? Maybe I had capacity before and now I don't. Maybe I'm now seeing something deeper and truer, and there's a recalibration that's being asked to be more specific, to be more discerning, to even just to be more powerful and stop playing small. So these are the kinds of questions that can be coming up for you, and for your clients too, depending on the kind of person that you're holding space for. But it's so important to be tuned in, because, as always, as within, so without, as above, so below. So what one is experiencing is often, usually always in some way, reflected back by the whole, because we are one, remember? And what's interesting is if we do tune in and honor from a cycle syncing seasonal point of view, if we do start to slow down, if our body makes us slow down because our capacity has changed, which is where the premenstrual or perimenopause can come into this, as we maybe don't have the capacity to push on. So that is when more shadow can arise because there's the tension, there's the gap between capacity and energy expense, like energy in, energy out. So more grief can surface, more truth can make itself known. And not because something is wrong, but because finally there's either enough quiet to hear what's been buried, or because our bodies just simply cannot keep up anymore. And the cracks begin to show. But through that crack, the light starts to shine. Remember, the insight, the gold, the wisdom can finally be seen. The slowing down doesn't create the shadow, it just reveals what was already waiting underneath. Many of us do grieve the loss of summer, and without naming it. So remember summer, the lightness, the warmth, the freedom, the sociability, the energy. And even if autumn is your favorite season, even if you do embrace it, it is asking something different of you to let go, to turn inward, to be willing to listen to your body, listen to your mind, feel your heart, to drop in and hear what is real. And this can be subtle, it can be more hidden, it can be easy to push aside. Many women know this feeling through the luteal phase or through perimenopause. And in this is where the body does reveal what we have been denying. And as our capacity begins to fall away and the deeper truth comes up, we really need to be tuning in, not just from a place of should, but from really taking this opportunity to prepare ourselves for what is coming through the autumn, through the winter, and the new season ahead. So it's really about not just embracing it for the light qualities, the power that it brings. We can all sort of tune into that. We can all feel, the qualities of the premenstrual or the qualities of perimenopause that, we can talk about and say are like powerful, like, giving less fucks and like having better boundaries and knowing ourselves better. Like, yes, it's one thing to say that, but the ask to actually embody that and integrate that is not as easy. So this is not about just enjoying the season and honoring the season, but it's really about noticing how it is working you on a soul and psyche level. One of the reasons dissent becomes frightening is because modern culture gives us almost no map for it. We are taught to push, rise, optimize, launch, perform, rinse, and repeat, but not how to go under, not how to let something die, not how to listen in the dark, not how to stay with ourselves when clarity hasn't arrived, and not how to call ourselves back to our center, even when we are thrown off, wobbled, triggered. It's not the avoidance of being triggered or the avoidance of shadow or the avoidance of, having a meltdown. It's the ability to call ourselves back to center, to recognize what's happening, to understand that, to have the tools, the support, and the witnessing to be able to do that. And this is why having a map for a descent is so important. It's not about needing to know what happens at every turn ahead. It's about knowing that dissent is real, that it has phases, and that it's asking something of us. And usually that is to trust the dark. It's to listen deeply to ourselves. It's to acknowledge the truth that we maybe have been hoping would go away or hoping we'd figure it out. And it's to really just listen and receive. The ultimate purpose of a descent is surrender. There has to be a change. You cannot walk into a descent and leave unchanged. And that change doesn't mean life destruction and devastation. It means coming back to your center. So descending is not about failing. It's not about trauma. It's not about dark night of the soul. It's a descent can be sometimes big, but sometimes small. Every descent has its own trajectory, its own timeline, and its own depth. And it's not because anything has failed or not working, even though it can feel like that. It's just because you cannot stay bright or in full bloom all year, and it is necessary to come home. Knowing the map doesn't remove the descent or doesn't mean that you can avoid the descent. It just helps you not get lost inside it. You know how some women, some people experience seasonal affective disorder? That is a descent that is very much triggered by the light. But a descent can be just simply letting go of our usual roles, like the frequency and output of even connecting with friends. It can be just staying home a little more. It might be sleeping more, resting more. It might be just dreaming into what's coming. It might be those moments of feeling like something in your work is changing or something in you is changing. And oh, there's a little bit more clarity, or the next layer, the next piece that is now starting to come through. It might be an adjustment in your relationship. It can be anything at all. It doesn't need to mean a big spiritual crisis. But I really want to talk about this with you because it is so important to understand, to reclaim the framework for a descent and then the rise. Like, we can't rise if we don't descend. That's just flatlining. That's just switching off everything. And that's actually just staying stuck, not experiencing any growth whatsoever, out of fear of what might happen if you actually let go. But for others at times, and I'm sure we've all had one at least before, there can be really big descent cycles where there's a massive course correction in your life. For me, last year, I had a pretty big descent cycle happen. Last year was really challenging for me personally, but I'd kind of felt like maybe 3 winters in a row before that, I'd had like the experience of descent cycles. I've had big descent cycles previously in my life too. But last year was a really big one because a lot of the foundational way I saw myself personally as a human, the way I've seen and understood my entire life, and the work that I do, through listening, learning, and tending myself through the descent cycle, I've come out the other side with a far clearer sense and truth of who I actually am, what I'm here to do, what the core of my soul gifts are, and how that shapes every single thing about me in every part of my life. I know I'm still integrating this now, and I'm sure it had a bit to do with turning 40 at the end of the year as well. This year, who knows? Of course, I'm hoping that it's not going to be a great big reckoning again, but instead of being here with fear and trepidation, I'm once again honoring this equinox as the time where we step over the threshold into the darker half of the year. And I'm not gripping onto the rail for in refusal to be taken under, but I'm also not throwing myself off the cliff either. It's about taking a breath and a step forwards, gently, tenderly, at each and every day. Not fast, not slow. It just is what it is. And with the awareness and appreciation of what autumn brings, what it brings to me, how I experience autumn, how I'm definitely experiencing perimenopausal symptoms, and how this is all part of a bigger picture overview of me and my life, my soul journey, my spiritual journey, I'm prepared. I'm not saying that there's no gold starring these situations, but having a map for the journey, even though I don't know the terrain of what this year will bring, this is what is so empowering. And so I want to speak to this now to remind you that this might come for you too. Not out of fear, I'm not here to scare you, but to just bring you awareness to remember, it's autumn equinox. This is where we take the step into the dark half of the year. And this is what I'm now aware of. I remember the map. We go through autumn. We go through the descent. We lay down what is not working for us. We go into the winter, into the stillness, into the darkness to find our inner light within. A part of us might die, and not to be dramatic, but that might be part of our ego, part of our identity. It might be a habit, it might be a relationship. It might just be a simple change. And from there, when we are ready, as the light begins to return, we begin the process of integrating what the change is and integrating who we feel that we are, calling on the vision for what is coming. And as the light returns, we are reborn. We have a sense of renewal, of creativity. Our energy comes back. And then we can implement the vision over the year. So there's always this beautiful cycle. And this is where I keep coming back to Inanna. Inanna is such a guiding goddess and myth for me. And she found me and she finds me again and again. It's not just a story about feminine empowerment. It's the woman who descends consciously through the gates. And at each gate, she has to remove something, a piece of her, in order to keep continuing on the path. She could turn around at any point and say, no, I'm not doing this. But it's that conscious, intentional choice, being rooted into the earth, allowing ourselves to be held, to remove a part of us, an identity piece, an adornment, protection, certainty, until she's stripped bare. And this is not, again, about self-flagellation or about suffering. This is just about coming back to our true essence. What is the core, pure essence of who you are? Because it's easy to forget. I know that with my menstrual cycle, with the moon, I set an intention. I set a year of the word. I set an intention for the year. And I know that I'm that person who diligently journals and does the rituals and reflects on what is being asked of me, sets goals, does the thing. And mid-year, I'd forgotten what my new year intention was. Mid-cycle, I'm what was my day one intention again? And I have to go, that's right. It's the coming back. That's right. That's what I set the intention of. That's what mattered. That was the direction that I chose for myself and received this cycle. So again, I'm not here to pretend that I'm perfect at anything. And I bet you're not either, because we're just not, right? We're not. So it's the coming back, remembering again. Yes. That's who I am. That's what I'm here for. This is what matters. This is what I intend. What I love about the Inanna myth is, one, that it's the first written story ever and it was written by a woman and it's ancient. Two, that it just is still so freaking resonant today. Three, that it gives us a language for sacred descent, but then rising. So she is the queen of heaven and earth, and she intentionally chose to go under. But then she comes back and she reclaims her place as heaven and earth. But this time, she is all the better for it. She knows who she is. She is in better relationship with her power and her position. She doesn't abuse that. She is in wisdom. And so this gives us a map for the times we're being undone, emptied, humbled, initiated, for the times where we can't carry all our identities with us, for the times when we just wonder what the point of all of this hardship, suffering is, where we can't see what the point of it, what we're here to learn, what's it all about, why is this happening to me? It's that reminder of there is wisdom in this. Stay with it, stay present with yourself, call on the support you need. And can you come back to your center even when you're thrown off it? Can you come back to your path? Can you remember who you are? There are parts of the feminine and feminine power that can only be recovered in the underworld. And for me, this is some of the greatest wisdom that I live by. Because the exiled feminine is the part that was shamed. It's the part that has been tabooed. It's the part that patriarchy is jealous of. And so it's the part that has been cast aside, cast out of heaven like Lilith, because she wouldn't lie under Adam and they brought in Eve, who would. It's the parts that have been over adapted, domesticated, that have been made palatable, that have made us be good girls and give all of ourselves to other people, which basically leaks our power so that we can't rally and rise and advocate and do all the important things that we are here to do, especially now. So without a map, the underworld feels like a failure because we've been told it is. But in the underworld, that's where we reclaim these lost parts. We call our power back for ourselves. We call back our ability to tell the truth and to stay centered in difficult times. And I think we really need these skills right now. So with a map, it actually becomes initiation, not failure. When the nervous system and the collective nervous system particularly is activated, it becomes even easier to lose discernment, to collapse into urgency, to believe every fear, to feel like we don't have enough, to panic about what the world is becoming, to be swept up by what is loud instead of what is true. And so the ask is, what is actually mine right now? What is fear contagion? What is the next true thing? What needs tending in me and in the collective? What needs witnessing? In times of collective fear, dissent asks us not to disappear into the noise, but to get more intimate with what is real, to build a tolerance, to be in the unknown, to be in the collapse, to be with what is. And we need basic skills for the threshold and for the dissent. We need this as a collective right now. And so here's some ideas for ways that you can support yourself in this state of the world, but also in your luteal, in perimenopause, as we cross closer to the Southern Hemisphere winter. So come to presence, be present. And I'm talking about not just taking some quiet time, but really deeply dropping in with yourself, distraction free, for a period of time, not just a quick minute, to feel what is alive in your body, to breathe, and to just witness yourself. Can you listen to the voice, the part of you that is holding fear, uncertainty, distrust? And can you simplify? Can you simplify? Simplify the ask, the expectations, the pressure, what you're putting on yourself, Can you ask more from others who do have capacity to hold you in community care? We need to come together, not to share stories and raise the frequency of fear, not in a way that elevates fear, but to be together, to lean into each other's hearts, arms, wombs, nervous systems. Can we come together for group ritual? Can we come together for spaces where we can be heard and witnessed? Can we lean on people with the tools to hold us, especially when we're so adept at holding space for others? Letting someone witness you, asking a trusted person to check in with you, not pretending you have to navigate the underworld alone. Okay? If you're versed in this, it's not about doing it alone. It's not about going, I know, I help others do this. It's about saying, and just as others lean on me, I need to lean on another. This is a time of rest, sleeping, nourishment, tending the body, all of these ways of self-care, but not the cliche ways, the true ways. Maybe it's having discernment about where you put yourself, where you spend your energy, who you hang out with. Maybe it's the discernment of what you start saying no to, what you hold for others as a friend, as a witness, but really tuning into better ways that you could maybe hold or be a support, but without giving yourself away or abandoning yourself. It's in the recognition, that the continual noticing of, I can feel what this is bringing up on me, in me as I experience a shadow or a trigger, and saying, okay, I'm feeling like this. I can feel activated. And is it about them or is it about actually me? Where am I abandoning myself? What am I being asked to honor in me? Not through fear, not through hate, not through separation, but through love. Through love. What is love? What is loving to you and to them? Staying close to your body, your sensations, and your truth that gets to move as you move your body. So really calling you into sacred movement, embodied movement, whatever that is. Sometimes exercise that helps you to shift energy, but maybe feels like you're, physically working out. That can be really helpful for shifting, moving, releasing energy, but also allowing yourself energy that lets the tenderness in, that releases the tears, the anger, the frustration. So can you stay? The invitation I have for you is, can you come back to your center, even when you wobble, even when you're in shadow, even when you're in fear? What does that mean to you? Can you take one step in front of another? Can you walk this path? The descent doesn't need to be dramatic to be real. Support is not weakness, it's wisdom. So one of the healthiest things you can do before terrain deepens is make sure somebody knows that you are walking into it, because I know that you're not going to be the only one. Can you share this even with your friends or your beloved, so that you have a shared understanding of what it means right now at this time? This really matters in leadership, as I've said. And I just want to really bring this back to this point. Women who lead need to know how to descend consciously, not just how to rise, not just to be continuously chasing growth or expansion or, even like certificates and learning, but it's all in the integration, right? It's in the embodiment. How are we walking our talk? Leadership's not only visibility and momentum, it's also honesty, surrender, discernment, death, reorientation. A woman who has a relationship to dissent becomes steadier, She's less likely to panic in the dark. She's less likely to abandon herself when certainty drops away and is better able to return aligned. The women who know how to descend consciously become different kinds of leaders on the other side. And I'm sure you can think of all of the ways that these skills will hold you as you lead, as you grow your business, as you maybe raise your family, as you navigate change in your body and in the world. Think about in your business the ways that you have to constantly face the unknown, put yourself out there. There's a real vulnerability that comes from doing this kind of work. I know that you know it. Being able to walk these descent paths, not with all the answers, not in perfection, but the willingness to follow the map and to come back to your center. This is serious work that holds your future rising by descending now. So this is why I work so closely with Inanna. This is why I held the temple journey last year with Inanna. And this is why I'm so called to offer this now as an online experience. I don't think anyone needs another surface level conversation about empowerment or even surface level ritual. It's like we need the spaces that honor descent, that hold the stripping, the surrender, the grief, the reclamation, and the rising, that give us these skills to be sacred feminine leaders that the world needs now and that we need to be. The world is asking us to hold more, but we don't have to hold it all. We hold ourselves first and we allow our roots to grow deeper. We allow ourselves to return to our essence and our truth, to strip away what's not in alignment. Is the clearing out and the coming back to center. So this is why I'm going to be offering the Inanna journey over these autumn and winter months of the Southern Hemisphere. And I'll be sharing an invitation and opening doors in the second half of April to hold us on this path. And for those in the Northern Hemisphere, this will be obviously through your lighter months, but still the process of growth and expansion. And the time that we're living in the world, no doubt, is like a collective underworld, a collective descent. So this might be medicine for you too. So this equinox, it just feels like the beginning of that conversation. This is the doorway in. And so if you can feel that, if you can sense it, even if you don't have meaning for it yet, then you'll understand why this work matters. So love, if you can feel autumn already starting to work on you, trust it. If you are becoming aware that there is a descent happening, an invitation that's calling you forwards, can you trust that and answer the call, knowing that it's for you? You don't need to have the full terrain understood, mapped out. It's certainly not about preparing and having all of the answers so that you've got, your full toolkit and you're like, pew, 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 when something comes. It's about the willingness to meet what's there. It is a powerful process. It doesn't need to be scary. It just needs to be intentional. Remember, the descent is not punishment. It's a return. And when you know how to walk it, the truth becomes a place, the dark becomes a place of truth. It's not something to fear. It's something to welcome as initiation that is meant for you. So my love, blessed autumn equinox, wherever you are. Until next time, so much love.
Thank you so much for listening, my love, to Wildflow Podcast. If you found medicine in this episode, please share it on socials and leave a review. If you are a sacred space holder, a coach, a priestess, a healer, come and take the free quiz now to discover your sacred feminine leadership style. Understand your frequencies is magic and medicine for your soul client, and how to work with your leadership edge so that you can show up in your sacred authority and create the business that holds you so you don't have to hold it all. Until next time, my love, stay devoted to your body and your spirit as sacred guide as you share your unique medicine in this world.